Welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show, brought to you by NoOffSeason.com, where you can get unlimited personalized advice to build your sports card investment portfolio. Get a free 30-day trial now at NoOffSeason.com. You won't be sorry. Our show today is brought to you by Graybo's Sports Cards. They're a local hobby shop owned by Gray Burnett, Ryan Fitz, and Duke Denny One-Time Dodson, and is located in the Arts District of Richmond, Virginia. Graybo's sports the best selection of raw and graded singles in the Mid-Atlantic and a wide variety of wax. Listeners of Sports Card Strategy can receive a 10% discount on any purchase at graybos.co by entering the code STRATEGY2023. Graybo's also now breaks on Whatnot and or Drip 5 nights a week, including baseball, basketball, football, and even wrestling breaks. Use the link in their IG bio at Graybos_cards to get a $15 credit after your first purchase on Drip. Follow all of Graybo's news and updates on Instagram at Graybos_cards. Don't forget that all of the data we use on the Sports Card Strategy Show comes from MarketMoversApp.com. Get 20% off MarketMoversApp.com today by using the promo code NOOFFSEASON. That's after a 14-day free trial. Use the promo code NOOFFSEASON at MarketMoversApp.com today. All right, it's time for some Sports Card Strategy. Here are your hosts, Paul Hickey, Kendall the Lefty McKee, and the Dr. Crack, Chad Guell. What's up, everybody? Happy Labor Day.
Up?
What's up?
How's it going, fellas?
Holiday time.
Yeah,
Sports
thanks.
cards on a holiday.
Guys, I'm pumped. I mean, thanks for joining me on Labor Day. Before we go around and give some love to the live chat, I kind of feel like I haven't seen you guys in a while. Even though we text all the time, and it was a big weekend, so I'm excited that you're joining me on a holiday here. Thanks for that.
Man, you're welcome.
It's awesome. No place I'd rather be than talking sports cards.
I can't wait to talk about Colorado football.
We're going to talk about some Colorado football. We're not a college football show by any means. There is one sports card podcast. I won't rip on them. They're good guys, but they tend to talk a little bit too much college football. But we're not going to talk about too much college football today, but there are some big plays that are happening from a sports card strategy standpoint in college football. So we're going to get into that. But it is Labor Day. Welcome to all of you in the audience. Thank you for joining us, whether you're with us in the live stream on YouTube, whether you're watching this post live stream on YouTube, or whether you're listening on the podcasting apps. We want to get you involved in the show. So you're going to hear us go around and give some live chat love. If you're watching this later on YouTube, drop a comment below. We're gonna get right back at you. We love to interact with you in the comments. And if you're listening on the podcast apps, wherever you get your podcasts, either DM us on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy after giving us a follow, and we'll get right back to you. Or you can follow us and tweet at us on Twitter, or X as it's now known. We're at No Offseason Card on Twitter. So check us out. All right, everybody, we've got a great show today. Let's go around and give some live chat love, first of all. So I always love when this happens. Chad Guell gets in there. One of our co-hosts. Good morning. Good morning, Chad. Janelle Shoe in the house. Happy Labor Day. Brian Steeler 714. Happy holiday, my cardboard brothers and sisters. We're going to be giving some more love to the live chat as the show goes on, right, guys? And we'll bring in some audience L's and dubs. Speaking of audience L's and dubs, I'm going to kick off my L of the week from an audience member. Scott Goldsmith emailed in his L of the week. That's another thing you can do if you miss the live stream, or if you're listening on the podcast apps and you're not able to get into the live stream. We understand. We stream live Monday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So we understand that not everybody can get in on that. But you can email me too, paul@nooffseason.com. So get into the live chat. If you're in the live chat right now, start to give us your L's and dubs of the week, guys. Janelle, Brian, anybody else in the live chat that jumps in. Connor's going to get you in here when we're done with ours. But we'll kick off with an audience member. Scott Goldsmith emailed me. He said, "Good morning, Paul and the rest of the crew. 1L is my summer ends today as I head back to work at school. My only regret is I was only able to tune into one live show in the summer. That's my first L. So my second one is that I submitted 7 Topps Update Ken Griffey Juniors to PSA when they had their 80s special. 4 of them were grades of 10 from other companies. The crack and submit. The others looked perfect. I got the email from PSA that my grades were ready. I got 2 9s, 3 8s, and 2 7s. I also got a Tom Brady Bowman rookie that graded a 4, and I thought for sure would be a 8 or 9 at minimum. Yep. That's a big bogey there. In looking at it and examining under magnification, I see no flaws. PSA says they are high quality and consistent because multiple graders look at their cards. I submitted 2 Walter Payton rookies, both of which had some pen on the back, so I expected them to both come back with MK designations. Both got grades I would expect, however, only one of them had the MK designation. Is it possible that PSA really has all these people looking so carefully at the cards to be accurate and grading yet missed obvious pen marks on the back? Just thought this was all interesting and wanted to share. It was a busy summer, but at least I have my rides to and from school to catch up on recent episodes. Exactly. Love that. That is why we're on all the podcast apps. So Scott, thanks for submitting your L. We appreciate this. Definitely PSA. There's a lot of question marks when it comes to what grades you're getting. And it's hard for us, obviously, to answer those questions without seeing the cards. But we've had similar experiences. So that's definitely a valid L. And my L is I started thinking about PSA. Like, is PSA an L for me? Because it felt like things were really slowing down. Like if things started to feel really slow to me, guys. And then I did get 2 submissions where the grades popped over the weekend. That was part of my huge weekend that I had from a sports card perspective. And when I went back and looked at it, I really realized it's really just me being impatient. That's all it is. Because PSA,
Dang.
even though,
Well, that's unexpected.
Right. Exactly. So like it takes about 2 weeks to get the orders entered, which does feel like a long time just to get orders entered. But then it really only took them about 2 months to grade. One was a 22 card submission. One was a 43 card submission. But what's really weird is after they charge you and you get your grades, they still haven't shipped the cards yet. So it's weird. It kind of seems like it takes them another 3 to 4 days to ship the cards. But my real L, guys, is that it's on me here, but it's also, I'm kind of like, I'm going to point the finger at PSA and I'm going to point the finger at eBay for different reasons. When you list a card on eBay and it hits and it has a bid, even one bid, or I'm sure, like, I'm not sure how this works for best offer. I'm sure it's different for best offer because you guys do buy it now or best offer more than I do. I tend to only do auctions. But when you list a card for auction and it has a bid, you're unable to modify the listing in any way. And on one hand, I can understand why. But on the other hand, if you want to go back and just like change something to the title that's important to the title and you just listed the card, but it already has a bid, it's frustrating because I listed an Anthony Edwards select rookie die cut PSA 8 auto, and it's out of 250. And I forgot to put the out of 250 in the title of the listing. So that's an L. That's one of my L's of the week. But the reason I'm going to blame PSA for this, because PSA doesn't put the serial number on the label. SGC does. This to me is an L that PSA doesn't put the serial number on the label because that is important. That is important to the card. Even though it might not be a parallel, if it's serial numbered, it should be on the label. So my L is, I've got a listing up there. It may not get as many bids. It may not sell for as much because I didn't put the out of 250 in the Anthony Edwards. It's actually out of 249. But that's kind of a double L because I also think eBay should let you go back and modify stuff like that. What do you guys think? Chad and Lefty, I'm sure before I pass it over to Lefty for his L of the week, Lefty, why don't you let me know? I mean, is that an L? Am I blaming PSA and eBay unfairly there? Is that just on me? Or do you agree that to a certain extent, those should be able to be tweaked by each of those companies?
No, that's totally happened to me before so what I do, I think we've talked about it before, is I basically find a card that's just sold for the highest amount possible. That's just like mine. And then I sit and I press sell one like this, and it just autofills, over half of the eBay listing. And so sometimes when the other person messes it up, I just trust them blindly on that, like I'm just like doing it fast or whatever. And then sometimes I'll like post it and realize, you know what? That's not actually the card that I'm selling. So a couple of times, not in a while actually, but a couple of times it's been messed up and I couldn't go back and fix it. And then it ended up going for what I didn't expect. And luckily it hasn't bit me in the butt yet where somebody complained that they bid on the wrong card, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, not a fun day.
Well, Southern Soccer Idiot is in the house. Happy Monday and love and many blessings to you,
What's
SSI.
up, SSI?
Appreciate that. Lefty, I know SSI is definitely not your L of the week. He's a great guy, but what is your L of the week, man?
Well, so my L of the week revolves around a play that I should have made or wanted to make in early June of this year. I brought up on our show that I thought that Max Verstappen was going to just take over this year. I thought that he was going to have the fastest car out there and that he was going to do things that no one else had seen and that he was going to potentially, my point was he's going to eventually pass Lewis Hamilton for most all-time wins. And at that point, I want to have a really nice Max Verstappen card so I can get out of him at that point. Like some of his really nice cards are going for like $350,000. So not really that high, obviously, but I do want to spend a good chunk of change. So when he breaks Lewis Hamilton's all-time wins record and is officially the greatest driver of all time, then I want to be a part of that sale opportunity. But I talked about it as a long-term play, not realizing yesterday Max Verstappen won his 10th race in a row. That's 15 wins on the year for Red Bull Racing. And to make that even more obvious that who's going to win the Drivers' Championship this year, not one team has won a race other than Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez, which is his teammate. That's unreal. Like, we're seeing things in F1 that we've never seen before. Like, people are legit tired of watching the races because he's so dominant. And so my L of the week is that I didn't buy into him earlier. But the good thing is when I was looking at the numbers here, I'm going to share my screen here for a second. My first time of the day. You guys should be ready. Connor's going to love this.
We're ready. Get that screen going, Lefty.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about this in a previous episode while you're bringing up your screen.
So this is just the raw base PSA 10. It's bounced all over the place in the last 180 days. So I would have bought in around here, around March 31st, June 1st, which this card was selling for about $100 and $125. So I ended up buying one yesterday for $175 plus eBay taxes. So I ended up paying almost $100 more than what I would have bought in on June. But what I do think is possible is I do think we're going to see one of these surges down here towards the end of the season once people realize that it's undeniable that he's the best driver. I don't know if he's the best driver of all time because I haven't been watching for 30, 40 years, but I would say is like he's a dominant driver in a dominant car. And there's no one else who can touch him. He didn't even start first on the grid today or yesterday, and he just took it over. But I think in regards to this L of the week, not getting in earlier, I think now I am willing to risk the opportunity to sell in a couple of months when they win the Drivers' Championship and he wins the driver and the team championship. But I also think what's an interesting play would be is Sergio Perez, his teammate. This is the same over the same 180 days. Sergio Perez has had no action and is still going to be a part of that Red Bull Championship. And this is his PSA 10 at a much cheaper option. I don't know. I'm not recommending this per se, but if you're feeling risky and you want to get in on some Red Bull win later this year, Sergio Perez also might see a bump in pricing as well when Red Bull wins their championship.
Love the F1 analysis, Lefty. That's strong. We need to do more F1 on the channel. We will. And Rob Masora of Bob's Card Market and I were doing an F1 show a few months ago. I think it was a couple of months before you mentioned this on the Sports Card Strategy show that you were looking at Max. And he and I did like a data analysis. And the data analysis we came up with was that you should buy in December for like a highly traded card for a liquid F1 rookie card from like the 2020 Topps Chrome set or 2020 Sapphire or whatever. Mainly that's those two sets. And the reason why is because there was always like a big pricing dip in December. And then regardless of the driver, it would rise again at the end of February, first week of March upon the season hype. Other than that, we couldn't really pinpoint anything to say that the F1 market was solid enough or established enough to have like performance spikes based on driver performance, other than like Leclerc at the beginning, I think, of the 2022 season. He was like going nuts when I think he won like 3 out of the first 4 races or something. So that was a huge price spike, but then he came crashing down when Max started winning everything. So I think, Lefty, I advised you like, hey man, just wait until December to buy into Max, because regardless of what happens, from a performance spike standpoint, everything should go down in December anyway. And then it's more solid to be able to sell at the end of February, early March. But I mean, great analysis on Checo Perez and just the entire Red Bull team. Cause you're right. I mean, they're doing unprecedented things. And so probably need to take notice of that. So are you going to buy in now or are you going to wait?
I did buy in.
You did buy
yesterday.
Okay.
So I bought a Max card yesterday. Probably will buy a Sergio Perez card. Nothing crazy, just his base PSA 10 rookie, which is what we're looking at here. And I think the graph here, you can see it's all downhill except for, the past since July 9th, it's all downhill. This is another reason why I wanted to buy in. I think F1 was on a huge bubble here in 2021, 2022. We've seen that bubble pop. We've seen the bubble pop. We've seen it come back with a large correction down into a price point where I think is manageable. And I think now it's an asset that is worth looking at from not a day trading perspective, but a trading perspective that's outside of the hype cycle of like these cards are going bananas. Now I think that there is an actual like smart investors perspective that we can buy in when I think obviously we've seen this test the line of like $100 ish. It's not going below $100. We've seen it test it a long time, and we're seeing a correction line, and it's now going back up. I think you'll see, if we're talking about investing stands or like Fibonacci numbers and stuff, if I could be able to put my chart up here from an investment standpoint, I think this is a healthy market to get back in on Max Verstappen. It's as low as it probably will be. Now, some of his charts don't look this appealing because there's not a volume sale like this card, but I think it's a healthy time to buy in on Max Verstappen. So I'm going to buy in now, sell at the end of the season, and then rebuy back in December.
There you go. I love it. Well, hopefully we'll be hearing from you on the win of the week segment along that timeline, both of those timelines. So good work. And Chad, we know you're not an F1 guy, but you are a very astute when it comes to following the market. And I think what we've seen, to Lefty's point, is, all the pop counts from the 2020 Topps Chrome set are kind of finally established. The market is a little bit more established here at the end of 2023 than it was a couple years earlier. I think Lefty's exactly right. So we know you're not an F1 guy, but before you go into your L of the week, what's your take on just sort of like, okay, we're basically 3 years into the whole F1 buzz in the sports card world, and where you see just kind of like a niche market having opportunity like that moving forward?
I like niche markets. It's what got me in back in the 80s, 90s, buying into some WWE, WCWs type stuff. That stuff was super hot. Then it cooled off. Pretty much went forgotten for 10 or 15 years. And then they came out with a new release and it went nuts again back in 2021. And now it's cooled back off again. So, tennis cards with our boy Alcatraz, lots of niche markets. Everybody's looking for that next great big thing. F1's had its moment back in 2021 where it just went to the moon. I think with the number of viewers in the world on F1, it's an awfully popular sport. I think Lefty's right. It's probably leveled off at this point. And if something amazing happens, like a record gets broken, or he wins every race, and it's never happened before for one driver or one team to win I could see another boom in the prices on that.
All right, my man. What was an L for you this past week?
Well, sometimes when you cast your net as wide as I do, you make mistakes, right? I know that people look to us, the experts, for giving them great advice. I think we usually do give them good advice. However, sometimes you fall into a trap because I didn't at the time have. I should have messaged you and Lefty for some advice. But anyways, my sons and I, every year we buy some wax to rip just because it's fun to rip. It's part of what's fun in the hobby. It's not a good investment, but it's fun to rip wax, right? So we bought some Bowman boxes, a couple of hobby boxes, a couple of blaster boxes, and we just ripped the crap out of it. And we had fun. And I had quite a few W's out of it, but trying to wring that rag for every last drop of what it's worth, imagining that all of my cards are PSA 10s because I just ripped them, right? I mean, I know better. I sent in a Hedbert Perez orange numbered to 25 because I thought it's numbered to 25. If this card even gets a 9, I'm breaking even. And at a 10, I'm gonna squeeze some more money out of this rip. I'm gonna make some bank here. And also a Matt Frazier Chrome First Auto. And I thought, you know what? He's a prospect. He's not great, but there's a Pirate fan out there it looked like a 10. I thought I'm gonna get a couple of 10s here, and I'm gonna get just a little bit more profit margin out of these boxes, right? Well, it went backwards on me. Both of them came back 8s. So, yeah. I mean, how stupid could I be? So I had about $45 invested between grading and shipping in these two. I sold them to the same guy, the same buyer, for $9.
Ooh. Ooh. That's an L.
Well, so the lesson learned here is don't make one mistake compounded into multiple mistakes. Okay. Rip the Band-Aid off, rip it off. Just rip it off.
I know exactly this too well.
Forget that you made the mistake and move on. And so with that $9, I netted $7. And with that $7, I bought verdict still out. I bought a Rashad Bateman rookie ticket auto color match raw card. I sent that into PSA. It finally went into Q&A 2, step 7. I'm hoping that I get that back in the next week or so. When that pops and I get a 10 on that card, I will get some money back. But anyways, don't make the same mistake I did. Don't send in marginal cards for grading. Only send in stars. I mean, it's one thing when you're prospecting and they're on the top 100 or top 50 or top 20 list, like we've done, with a Spencer Jones or a Drew Jones or something like that, where there's going to be hype. Don't send in Matt Frazier and Hedbert Perez. I mean, come on, guys. What did I
never even heard of Hedbert Perez? Never even heard of him.
He's a brewer.
To be fair, Hedbert Perez is better than Matt Frazier.
Yes, he is. I know, but it was an orange out of 25.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, that's fair.
But Chad, I totally feel you on this. I mean, I made this mistake repeatedly for the first 18 months that I was back in the hobby. I mean, because it was but if I just get this card graded, then maybe it'll sell better. Nope, it's still a crappy card. Once a crappy card, always a crappy card.
I ended up grading a bunch of my PC Rangers prospects because I like to have PSA 10 stuff. and I came back. It came back with 4 9s, and so I basically was just like, all right, I'll just auction them. So they're on auction right now because I just had. Luckily, they're 4 9s, but they're cards that I would have been more than happy having raw. But now that they're 9s, I'm like, I hate them.
Yeah, totally. So good point. Like, don't compound one mistake with another mistake. That's a great point.
And I just pulled up my PSA order for that order, and it was I was having fun with the kids, and the kids wanted some graded cards and yada yada. In that submission, it was a 20 card submission. It was full of base non-first nobodies, and I did end up with 12 out of 20 10s in that order, but even the 10s I like broke even on because they were nobodies. I got caught up in letting my kids wanting. I should have just given them, said open up the safe and said, here, pick from my stash. What was I doing? What a terrible parent I was. That was awful.
I think you were just for a second. I think it still was a win of the week because you're doing stuff with your kids.
That's true.
Here's some dad advice. Now that we're all 3 potential, like I'll be a dad in a month and a half. But somebody told me this week it's about quantity over quality being time with your kids, and I was like, what? I don't believe that. And he was just like, if you're the kind of dad that's just like, I'm just going to spend 1 day a week with them and we're just going to go to the amusement park, that's not something that they'll love. They just want you to be there when they need you, anytime they need you. So there you go. Time being a dad,
that's very well said by that
over
person.
Quality.
Yeah. For sure. Time with my kids was the win, but I should be giving them better financial advice.
But this isn't a parenting show.
This is a
sports
show about sports dad strategy.
This isn't the sports card dad show. You can get that on a different YouTube channel.
No, that's why we got Connor's in training in the background.
We want people to make money, Lefty. We don't care if they're good parents. We really don't care.
I care, everyone.
Lefty's got a heart. I just want
I care. Money. That's why I don't like Kenny Pickett. I can't be raising my kids as a Steelers fan.
Yeah, but
all right.
But for those that are watching on YouTube, if I had Dad of the Year T-shirt and held up those 2 PSA 8s, what kind of a dad am I?
Sonia's in the back saying she's with Lefty. That's okay. That's because she's a good human being. It's debatable whether or not I even have a heart.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah. So
the marriage coach is with me.
Good on you, Lefty. You win the Person of the Year award. I really don't care.
I'll take it.
So Chad, I heard you say something in there that really intrigued me as we segue into your W. And that is you bought a Rashad Bateman rookie ticket auto for $7 or less than $7. How is that even possible?
Well, it was a 230.
Did you mug somebody for it? Like, what
happened? I've bought 3 of them.
Dude, he's got upside.
I've bought 3 of them this year. Okay, 2 of them back in June, which I paid $10 and $11 for on eBay. But I got this one last night. No, the one that I got in June was for $7. Then I got one last night for $11. So I actually paid more for the one last night at 2:30 a.m. than I did for the one that I paid $7. But anyways,
you're doing it. This is your strategy. 2:30 a.m. That's how you're doing it.
Yeah. Okay. So I got one for $7, one for $10, and one for $11. So I have 3 of them.
And you didn't sleep at all. So who's the real winner here?
I only need 4 hours of sleep.
Lefty, we only care about making money here on the Sports Card Strategy
Maybe
Show.
I'm on the wrong podcast.
I think maybe you need to go on.
Me and Sonia are going to make our own Sports Card Strategy podcast about holistic health.
You do the self-help, whatever improvement strategy show with Sonia, and then Connor, Chad, and I will just focus on the flipping card.
No, we got to know, Connor, pop into the stream. Which one are you on? Right. Are you on the self-help or are you on the moneymaker?
I'm going to plant a flag being right in the middle here. I think I might be too new to the team to start picking sides. So good work, Lefty. Good work, Paul. Paul, you make your money, and Lefty, you just keep being a good person, brother.
Connor is a really good person. He's a really good person. So I could see him going either way. He can flex to the self-help, and then he can definitely flex.
He
to
didn't
the
even give me the answer I wanted, and I still think he's cool. Dang it.
Yeah, he is cool. He's
Boys, I'll
doing
hop
great.
back in just a minute when we get done with y'all's L's and
Yeah,
W's.
get out of here since you
All
didn't
right.
give me the right answer.
All right, man. Good work. Okay, so Chad, I think it's a W that you're able to get those Rashad Bateman cards for that little, because unlike Lefty, I think Rashad Bateman is a guy that, like, if you're holding his cards, he's definitely going to have a big week. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that's what I like about football cards as we enter into football season here for real. Like, if whoever you're holding still, if it's a guy like Rashad Bateman, like, you wait until he pops off, because he will. And then as soon as he does, you sell that card. We'll send out a sell alert when Rashad Bateman pops off. And Chad, so I think that's a W. But Chad, what's the W that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I've got a couple of W's here I want to talk about to redeem myself after my low L's. With Bateman, my play with Bateman, just so everybody knows, my play with Bateman is Baltimore is going to make the playoffs this year, and they're going to have Lamar Jackson, and they're going to be balling out come the playoffs. So my play was to hang on to him till the playoffs. If he pops off and his cards jump, I'll sell him then. But my play was to go in thinking playoffs. So anyways, my W's, I bought a Breece Hall rookie ticket auto.
I love that guy.
I do too. I bought it. He got injured. I bought it. I think I bought this card back in March. I bought it for $35 raw. I sent it in for grading for $19. That one came back a PSA 10. So shipped all in for just under $60. I sold it for $140 last week. So after eBay fees, I netted $120, which is a little better than a $60 profit or a 100% ROI.
Awesome.
Let me underscore this play, because I think this is great. And then Lefty, I think you're with me on this, so we'll get your thoughts. Injury. He had an injury, so you could buy him. You could buy him low, right? And then you know that he's coming back from the injury, and you're selling him, Chad, at the hype cycle of the NFL season starting. And he's back from injury, and even though Dalvin Cook's there, he's still with the Jets, even though their quarterback sucks. I mean, at least you're getting rid of him before the Jets suck this year. So good work on the Breece Hall play.
Yeah, signing a Dalvin Cook scared me a little bit, but I still got good money. I actually, before they signed Dalvin Cook, full disclosure, that card did hit 175 back pre-national, and I thought this card's going to be 200 come regular season, so I held it. I should have sold, but I still netted over 100% return on investment, so I'm good with that. I bought a Jordan Love score. Now, I don't recommend score all the time, but this was the exception. It was a score gold zone, so it was numbered to 50. I bought it raw for $25, had it graded. It came back a PSA 9, which is what I expected. So all in with shipping, I had just under $50, or right around $50 with shipping and stuff. I sold it for $150. So after eBay fees, netted about $130. So I had an $80 profit, which is 160% return on investment. So I wanted to make sure my Jordan Love card was gone before the beginning of the season, because I just don't know what's going to happen with my Green Bay Packers. I'm optimistic, but I'm not sure. And then this next play, I was at a local flea market, and I thought the thing was cool. So I'm walking through, and I found a 1999 Star Wars gold Yoda Pepsi can, unopened. And I'm a Star Wars guy, so I saw the can, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. And the guy had $20 on it, and I'm like, it's a Pepsi can. So I said to the guy, I said, tell you what, I'll give you $5 for it. He goes, all right.
Way to knock him down from 20 to 5. That's a heck of a
win. I didn't care if I got it or not. So some rule of negotiating, the person who cares less wins. And I didn't care. So I threw out $5. And the guy's like, yeah, all right. Then I got home and I started looking on eBay, and I'm like, this is actually a collector's item. I'll be damned. The guy was priced right at $20. It was a good buy at $20. What did he sell it to me for $5 for? So I put it on eBay for $25, and somebody smacked the buy it now. So I netted $22 or a $17 profit, a 300% investment for walking through a flea market and buying a Yoda Pepsi can. That's a win.
That is a win. And I'm going to jump in here because this makes me think of a couple different things. First of all, Tim Larson of Signs of the Times Collectibles would be all over this because at the National, for those of you who weren't there, we shared a booth with Tim Larson of Signs of the Times Collectibles, and he has a ton of cool stuff like this. Not only did he have it at the National, but he just in general has a ton of stuff. In fact, he specializes in beer cans, like vintage beer cans. And so, Chad, way to just absolutely follow in the footsteps of Tim Larson at a flea market. Love it. And Tim is probably going to love hearing this as well. So good work. He may even come back and help you continue to flip collectible Pepsi cans. But also on the Star Wars side, it made me think of our guy Buckeye Dill, who collects the Star Wars cards. So very, very cool W's there, Chad. Love it. Lefty, over to you for your W's, man.
Yeah, I got some cool W's this week, man. I don't know. I was just like, okay, I'm not going to miss out on this one, guys. I have advised people to buy into Ellie De La Cruz. I have advised people to buy into Indy Rodriguez. I have, like we've just gone down the list, and I'm the one who's been sitting, being like, I've got one of these cards, yeehaw, and all these people, to quote Ozzy at the National, Kendall, you've helped me make a shit ton of money this year, and I'm like, I'm not missing this one, boys. So Jackson Holliday, boys, is at AAA, and his cards are going bananas, boys. Like, there is some Jackson Holliday hype right now. And so he is going up and to the right, and I'm not selling yet. So Jackson Holliday to AAA. I don't believe that we will see him get pulled up this season. Jackson's a true pro. He's going to be an incredible Oriole. He's outstanding, and now he's getting a top-level performance. Best case scenario for us, now follow me here, guys. Best case scenario for us at the Sports Card Strategy Show is that he struggles in AAA. Here's what I'm saying. This guy is incredible. He's dominated every sort of promotion he's had. My fear is that if he comes out and comes into AAA and just dominates AAA, the Orioles will pull him up during their playoff run, similar to what we've seen previously with some top prospects that get their debut in the playoffs, just to like juice the program even more. At this point, I never thought that was possible. He's the youngest guy at like AA. And now he's at AAA. I think he's the youngest guy at AAA as well. This guy's just incredible. I bought an auto for him at him right after the National, got a stupid cheap price on him. I actually could make profit right now on the bad buy that I made from him if I still had it. And so he's just an incredible player. I hope that he breaks out in camp next year and all of us can just run to the bank as nicely as possible, because I'm about making money and being nice on the way to the bank. So
well laid out, Lefty. Well laid out. Totally follow you there. I totally agree. And I think everybody should be on top of that information, because we could miss a window, and that would be an L for all of us, I think. I mean, unless you're holding Jackson Holliday cards, it wouldn't be as much of an L. I have 0 Jackson Holliday cards, and I'm looking to buy in December, hopefully, for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, I mean, unless you're holding Jackson Holliday cards ready to sell them upon that call up, I think it could be an L for all of us. Unless he, hopefully what you're saying is that he comes out in spring training and gets that initial call up. I also think if he
that's the best case scenario.
That's best case scenario. I also think if he struggles in AAA, it could be good from the standpoint of like expectations coming down a little bit. Like he's still the number 1 prospect. So whenever he does get called up, there's going to be that huge call up bump for him, regardless of how he plays in AAA. But if he dominates in AAA, the expectations could be so unmanageable for what he actually does when he gets called up that there could be a significant drop off if he doesn't perform the way that Ellie or even our guy Jason Dominguez, who we sent the sell alert for, For those who text sports cards to 1-833-992-5727, you got the Jason Dominguez sell alert over the weekend as well. So good stuff there, Lefty.
Yeah, dude. I got one more, actually 2 more wins of the week. They're quick. The US Open, actually, I know we talked about marginal markets earlier, but the US Open is something special right now. I think this matchup right here is something that we're going to be looking for. Ben Shelton versus Tiafoe. These are 2 American guys. Ben Shelton is a massive up-and-coming guy. He won a college championship last year, and he's a guy that I actually Googled Ben Shelton cards about 3 months ago, and I bought a Ben Shelton card for $15 because it was the only one on the market. There was only one card available. I bought it for $15. That other, since he's gotten into this quarterfinal rounds, this is the quarterfinal rounds. His cards have all of a sudden started to pop up on Facebook or on eBay. I could now sell that card for $70, and it's been 2 weeks or 2-3 weeks or something like that. So Ben Shelton is awesome. Obviously, the guys that are left are incredible. For the US Open, it's pretty much United States tennis players, which is great because the United States men's tennis players have been bad for a long time. And then you've got Djokovic, and then you're going to probably see Carlos Alcaraz versus Jannik Sinner.
Don't you call him Alcatraz too, Lefty?
Carlos Alcaraz versus Jannik Sinner. You're going to have those 2 in a quarterfinal matchup together, which I think will be the best tennis matchup of the tournament.
Love it. And this all stems from you being a good human, because if you weren't a good human, you wouldn't have made that friend that you're now watching tennis with, right? And then the friend watching tennis with you tells you about Sinner and Ben Shelton and all that, and now you make a play on Ben Shelton, and just like 10 days later, now all of a sudden you're profiting potentially off of Ben Shelton. If you
I think that if I did the math right, that's a $400% flip, I think,
just from being a good human.
Yeah. So take
out.
that, Chad.
I'm missing out on talking to people in the world.
I need more friends that watch tennis and pickleball and some, lacrosse.
I have a freaking butt ton of friends that watch pickleball. So
yeah, pickleball. Same here. I
feel like Connor's a pickleball.
Yeah,
fan.
I was just gonna say Connor's like playing pickleball. No, he's shaking his head backstage. No? He's like, Connor's at the golf.
You've got the backward pickleball hat going on with the mustache. You could walk up to a pickleball court and they'd be like, they're picking teams. They're like, I'll take the guy that looks like a fratty. He probably plays pickleball.
Yep.
I own a pickleball card, and I couldn't even tell you the name of the card.
For real?
Yeah, a friend of mine was like, "You got to go buy so and so. They're the next great thing in pickleball." So I went on and I bought one. I don't even know where it is. I got it in my massive collection somewhere. So I do have a pickleball card. I don't know who it is though.
Paul, all right, you got to get a pickleball card. No. Pickleball Paul just sounds so good, man.
It does. That sounds like a new show, Pickleball Paul.
This leads into my sports card strategy. So shout out to Sonia. Sonia's helping us plan the show, and she's like, you guys all need to put into the show notes like what your sports card strategy is. And my strategy is just not to spread the wide net that Dr. Chad Guell is spreading. Like, he has a pickleball card. He has a freaking pickleball card. Like,
my strategy is to not be Dr. Chad.
No, my strategy is to
there goes the good human.
Exactly. Synthesize the information and weed out the stuff that I disagree with. And I disagree with having a pickleball card. So that's let me get into it. Yeah, exactly, Global.
In Australia, they're like, what?
Look, exactly, Global. Thank you. Global's in the house. My win of the week. Look at how many people are in the house now. Global's in the house. Joey, that's a win of the week. Good to see Joey. Joey's been on Twitter tweeting at us. He's been on YouTube. Good to see Joey back. We're going to get to him. Card Snatchers in the house. We've got some live chat love coming in. Shane Graham, we see you. Good morning and happy Labor Day to you. So we got a lot of stuff. Global with the WTF is pickleball. Yep. All right, so here we go. I am going to get into my W of the week, and it's a big one. My W of the week is so big that it's going to span into all of the next segments. But before I dominate all of the next segments, I'm just going to talk about a few things in my W. So one of them is, we all know I'm impatient. And because I'm impatient, I said, you know what, PSA? You're too slow for me. I'm going to send some cards to SGC. And here's why. They're football cards. And so I realized that after having Andy Kaysen on the show and realizing the whole Panini Fanatics NFLPA licensing drama, what is going to happen with this year's rookie class and what licensed Panini cards will they have? Will they not have? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I realized that being a VIP at the National, not because I'm a VIP, but because I paid for the VIP package, I got a pack of cards from Panini that's exclusive to the VIP packs at the National. In that pack, and everyone that was a VIP at the National got these. There's probably 6,000 people, I believe. Had a pack that had like all of the top position player draft picks in the pack. So I opened that pack and I submitted them all to SGC. So I've got a CJ Stroud, came back in less than 10 days. CJ Stroud, Panini rookie, VIP the National, Gem Mint 10. Got a couple other Gem Mint 10s from that. Got a Bijan Robinson, Gem Mint 10, SGC. Got a Jahmyr Gibbs, who our boy Andy Kaysen loves, SGC 10. These cards are not going to sell for a whole lot of money, but you know what? I can do something with them now. I'm listing them. So they're live on eBay. I'm excited about the SGC turnaround. But leading up to the big W here, guys, I included this one in the submission because you need to have 10 cards. This is a Junior Caminero 2023 Bowman Mega Box autographed blue refractor out of 150, and it got a 10-10. 10 on the card, 10 on the auto. So it's not his first. It's missing that little logo that we know Lefty missed on the Jackson Holliday a few weeks ago. But you know what? And I bought this from Rusty Immigart, so shout out to Rusty Immigart. This is the beautiful looking card in the tux, don't you think, guys? This is a win.
A color match. I am a sucker for anything color match. I love that card, Paul. Great job.
Thanks, Chad.
So I included going to buy it from you and put it in his vault.
Yep. Well, we'll see. You know, no discount for Dr. Crack. He's got to bring it strong. I'm not a good human. I'm charging him up the butt for the Junior Caminero card. But anyway, I think it's a win because I think a few things. First of all, you can go to SGC and you can get football cards turned around quickly. Or in this case, you guys were talking about on this show, Junior Caminero potentially getting an early call up. I remember you guys kind of bantering about like to Lefty's point a minute ago about Jackson Holliday. Could that happen with Caminero with the whole Wander Franco situation, with the Rays being better and being able to have is Caminero even ready for that? So I said, man, I might need, if I'm going to get this card graded, like I need to get this back soon. So that's why I included it in the SGC submission. Another couple wins here. My PSA orders did finally pop. And one of them was a 23 card submission to Jackson Churio, Bowman Chrome first out of 2022. One got a 10, one got a 9. And then 20 Victor Wembanyama Topps Now 472 cards where he's throwing out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium before the NBA draft in June. All of them got 10s. So that is a 100% gem rate for the first time ever on a PSA submission. Now, granted, they're Topps Now cards, so they should grade well, but that's 20 out of 20, which I've never
and
had.
I also got a 100% gem rate on that card.
On that particular card. That's interesting.
Topps, I've said it before. I think I said it in one other previous episode. The Topps Now cards, I don't know what Topps is doing for the quality control on those, but those cards are perfect cards. I haven't heard of anybody that sent in a Topps Now card that hasn't gotten a 10.
Well, I have gotten a 9, so there's one.
Yeah. But that's a good point though, Chad. And then in this other submission, they both popped at the same time now. PSA haven't shipped them yet. I'm wondering that's because Labor Day weekend. That's understandable if that's the case. Hopefully I'll get a tracking number tomorrow, 2 tracking numbers tomorrow. But this submission was 43 cards. It had the D1 Victor Wembanyama Topps Now. So that's one that the three of us were texting about on draft night. And we didn't get the auto, but I got 20 of the base cards, didn't get a parallel, sent them all to PSA right away. That got 18 out of 20 10s, 2 9s, still a 90% gem rate. That's going to put me in a position where this is going to be a huge win because those cards are selling for around $100. on eBay in the Gem Mint 10 PSA. So you're looking at $29 into each card. They're selling for $100. That's a big win. The Yankee Stadium first pitch is only selling for about 50, 55. So it's not as big of a win, but putting all those numbers together, now none of these have sold yet, but putting all these numbers together should be over $1,000 profit, all considered. And then in this submission too, I got a couple of Gem Mint 10 Shohei Ohtanis. One is a 2018 Topps Chrome rookie pitching. Another is a 2020 Topps Fire Ohtani Flame, which I wasn't as familiar with, but that was a CSG pristine 10 that I cracked out, and it did get a PSA 10. So I was excited about that one. Another win of the week. I mean, my win of the week could take up the entire show. So just
Can I butt in here because I did not bring this up in my win of the week.
Yeah,
either.
Go for it.
Chad, I also pretty much did the exact same thing where I ordered 20 of the draft Wembanyama, sent them straight to PSA, didn't even open the thing. Like as soon as I got them, I just put it in a box and sent it to the to PSA in that little case thing. So they will take them in that case, in case you're wondering. But I got 20 10s and 4 9s. All of the 9s were of the draft day cards. But which is fine actually, because I still think I'll be able to make margin even on those 9s from the $20 something invested, or $25 invested we have in each card. So I'm able to make a pretty decent play on this as well. And so that's also a win of the week for me, but I didn't want to steal Paul's thunder because I'm a nice guy.
You are a nice guy. All good, Lefty, and good chime in there because it is an interesting discussion on the Topps Now. I'll just pause real quick and say we don't necessarily recommend like going and buying a bunch of Topps Now cards. I wouldn't force yourself into thinking that something could be a moment. It really has to be. We got a great question on the Overflow show. I think it was from Skeeter Robinson on what Topps Now cards to look out for coming up. And I answered that on the Overflow show. So for premium members, you can go check that out at nooffseason.com. But we kind of caution you to not try to like convince yourself into buying a Topps Now card. It really has to be a big moment or a big player. So that's why Lefty and I went with the Wembanyamas.
Most of the Topps Now cards will end up like Hedbert Perez.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a lot of L's if you're investing.
I mean, it mentions scarcity in the player as well. You know, like obviously when we bought the Wemby cards, we knew Wemby's season was coming. We knew his Rookie of the Year season was coming. There's not at the time there was no cards out other than the Sports Illustrated for Kids cards when we bought the card. You know, the green 99, you know, come meet him in person card thing was not out. And so we were making a pretty decent Wemby play. We almost bought the auto, which we saw the auto for about the same price, just a little bit of a bump at the National. And we considered, for like half a second, we were like, should we buy it now? You know, so,
right, exactly. Want to go in on it now? So
like I would say if there was any messy card that would have come out in a Topps Now, I would have bought that, but not now probably because it's a little bit post hype for him.
It would have had to have been like his first ever MLS card, right?
Yeah.
Like, and something on that would have had to have kind of denoted that. So, because again, you don't want to have to convince the market that it's his first ever MLS card. You want it to be clearly his first ever MLS card. So that's a good example, Lefty. All right. So speaking of card shows, you mentioned the National. Like this is one I bought at Mint Collective. So this was in a value box. I want to call it a dollar box, but it wasn't technically a dollar box. It was like a value box where it was basically all cards under $5. So at Mint Collective, I was going through a value box, really cool dealer, like nice guy. We were talking and I was pulling out a bunch of his cards. And I think I bought a stack of cards. I think I bought a stack of like probably 40 cards for like $70. So do the math on that, less than $2 a card. Travis Kelce, 2015, Topps finest gold refractor out of 150. Went through these cards and just determined which ones I thought might make sense to grade. Now, the reason why I decided to grade this card was strictly due to the fact that I needed to get to the minimum amount of cards to send it into PSA. So again, I think this could be a strategy where like a lot of times Dr. Crack, he does an amazing job of saying you can go out and buy, like his articles at nooffseason.com for premium members are amazing. They're like, you can go out and buy these 20 Shohei cards. If you can get 20 of them, here's the math. But a lot of times it's hard to get 20 of them. Maybe you get 12, maybe you get 9 or whatever. Then you have to backfill the rest of that submission with other cards. That's essentially what I was doing here with this Kelce card. So basically $2 for the card, $19 for the grading fee. It helped me get other cards down to the $19 mark. And this card, with 8 hours left in the auction, has 5 bids and it's up to $67. So that's a $2 card, $19 for the grading fee. We don't know what the net profit is going to be yet. It hasn't sold. The buyer hasn't paid. So it may not actually crystallize into profits, but we're looking pretty good here. All about listing at the right time. And obviously getting the grade is important. So that was definitely a win. And just want to talk real quick about some other wins that aren't related to my card flipping, because I could seriously go on for days about how successful I am right now at flipping cards, but I'm going to save some of that content for later.
I could go on for days about how cool I am.
So let's give some props to the rest of our team. The basketball card rankings at nooffseason.com are looking amazing. You got to go check them out. Connor, Chad, and I put some work into this. There's kind of a mix of rankings. And then when you click on the Dr. Cracks rankings tab,
before SGA.
What's that?
You guys put Jason Tatum ahead of SGA?
No, Chad didn't, but I did. Connor and I did, but Chad didn't. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of this.
That's that bad call, dude.
I don't know, man. I mean, you got more Jason Tatum cards that are down right now. And you've got a longer runway of Jason Tatum potential markers than you do with SGA. In the 12-month window, Lefty. In the 12-month window, Lefty. That might be a debate that we need to have later on. Another win of the week is getting the football card rankings out there. So Dr. Crack is still working on his football card rankings, but Connor and I got some out there, so you got to go check them out. Caleb Williams, #1. Spoiler alert. That shouldn't shock anybody. Lefty got his baseball card rankings up. This is a plethora of valuable content that all of you need to go check out at nooffseason.com right now.
And
Lefty McKee's baseball card. It's all free. It's all free. Thank you, Lefty.
I have my initial draft of the football done if Connor has time to post them, but
we're going to get them up, Chad.
I made sure I had that done on Saturday before I left work. So
that's awesome. We appreciate that. And then shout out to Josh D and Oh My Shoes, because they are 2 audience members. And what they did was they each set up a Discord, and without me asking them to do anything, Shoes set up a Discord for the show. And then Josh D came in and set up a Discord for the show. And I said, hey, Josh D, great work, but Shoes already has one. Go check Shoes' out. The 2 of those guys got together and said, let's use Shoes'. So if you go to sportscardstrategy.com, it's just a quick link into nooffseason.com for the show. You can see that there is a link to join our Discord now. So you can join the Discord. If you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, I'll chime in every once in a while. And we also have a Facebook group for those of you that are old like me and you'd rather use Facebook. If you're young like Lefty and Connor and you'd rather use Discord, now you have all these options. Sportscardstrategy.com. Join the Discord, join the Facebook group, wins of the week. And if you can't get enough of this show, remember that the Sports Card Strategy show and tell is on Thursdays. Email paul@nooffseason.com to get on that show. And we haven't really pumped this enough, I don't think. But the premium pod still exists, people. So if you really can't get enough of this show and you listen to it on Spotify or you watch it on YouTube, the premium pod, go to premium.sportscardstrategy.com to upgrade, $9.99 a month to get the Friday Overflow show on Spotify, or you can click on the YouTube channel, click join on any of the links on YouTube. Each are $9.99 a month. That's less than $2.50 per show. That's like what Chad is buying Rashad Bateman rookie ticket autos for now. So less than $2.50 per show. If you can't get enough of the show, you can listen on Spotify to the Premium Pod Overflow show, premium.sportscardstrategy.com, or click join on the YouTube channel. Each are $9.99 a month. if you're already a premium member to nooffseason.com, you already get this. You just have to see it on the website. So anyway, I could keep going on and on about my W's, but I think it's time to bring in Connor probably to get some thoughts from the audience on their W's and L's of the week. So
Connor,
let's get Connor back into the stream here.
We need some, Connor, bring some humility back to this show, could you?
Good morning again, gentlemen. Absolutely. Before we touch base on the audience L's and W's, I just wanted to say, I think on behalf of the four of us, everyone that's in here right now, thank you. Obviously, with it being a holiday, a lot of people are off work right now and sleeping. I actually have people setting off fireworks in my neighborhood pre 8 a.m. So it means a lot to us that you guys are in here on your holiday when you could be sleeping. But let's hop right into it. I'm going to start with a potential L. This one's going to be kind of directed at you to answer, Dr. Crack. Card Snatcher. They've got 2 orders sitting on received hold at PSA. They've done a little bit of research online and they think something could be wrong. Chad, do you know the answer to what this could be?
I do. I saw that in the comments. I have never heard of received hold in all the years I've done it and all the submissions I've done. I've never seen a thing come up received hold. So unfortunately, I do not have the answer for this one.
is this at PSA or at the eBay authentication?
Looks like it's at PSA.
Oh, okay. Because we have had some stuff being on hold at, I think Paul had one on hold at the authenticator and he sent it back.
Yeah, I've had a couple. That's true. I've had some on hold there, but at PSA, I mean, I've seen when you check them in for receiving, it does, like, I had 4 orders in a row that took almost 3 weeks from the time that they received them to get them checked in. But they never received a hold designation. So if he's getting a hold designation, I would contact customer service at PSA, and they'll be able to tell him what's going on. Maybe he didn't enter something in, or maybe they're in holders they don't accept.
I think I might know one of the answers just from blowoutforums.com. And this could be totally wrong, but basically just scanning blowoutforums.com. It's either an issue with your credit card. So you might need to update your payment method. There's also saying it could be that upcharges are coming. So that could be good news in that it could be that a card graded much higher than the insurance level that you paid for, which we've always said on this show would be a good problem to have. Or the card is damaged and you need to discuss compensation. But I mean, I agree with Chad. You should contact customer service. I've had success contacting customer service recently. They have a callback, which I like. So you can get in the queue, have them call you back, and then that way you can go on with it. And if you're not patient like me, you're not going to sit there on hold. So you can go on about your day and they'll call you back.
Yeah, I've had it before, Paul, where they've held cards for upcharges or credit card not correct. But my understanding was this is at they just received them. It's sitting in received hold.
Oh, receive hold, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I've never heard of it.
Weird.
Card Snatcher, we hope that helped a little bit. Keep us updated with that situation. We'd love to know how it goes, so keep us posted there. But let's transfer over to Janelle Shoe. Good morning, Janelle. Paul, it looks like she's still holding a paper Bryce Young. It is a PSA 10. She plans to sell it the first weekend of the regular season. She was able to get it for pretty cheap. Paul, how do you feel about her still having this Bryce Young in her inventory?
Yeah, thanks, Connor. I saw this come in and it looked like Janelle maybe was looking at comps and the comps were lower than what she thought she wanted to get out of this card. So I totally understand. Chances are it's probably a college uniform card because he doesn't have that many pro uniform cards out yet, unless you were able to get one of the ones that Andy Kaysen was talking about from the Rookie Premier or from the National, one of the ones I was talking about, or on Panini Instant. Panini Instant's had some pro uniform Bryce Young. So that would be a quick flip. I think this one might be a college uniform card of sorts. Janelle, I think this probably falls in the category of like Dr. Crack talks about this often, where it's like you just have to rip the Band-Aid off, get what you can for the card out of week 1 and reinvest it into something else. So yeah, Bowman, I get it. And so unfortunately, like the runway, once once someone's been drafted and once someone has entered into their first training camp and into their first preseason, the pro releases start to come out. The Bowman U cards get a little bit older. I think the time to sell Bowman U cards for guys like Bryce probably would have been back in April, May for the draft is when you want to get rid of them. You're still holding it. That's fine. I would get out of it what you can and then reinvest it into something else. But that's definitely a no. Sorry, Janelle.
The Carolina Panthers play the Falcons in week 1. They have a very good chance at beating the Falcons. If Young does anything at all,
brother, that is a wild pronunciation of Falcons.
I was thinking the same thing.
If they beat them and they have a chance to, you could see that card jump a little bit if he has a good game. I would put it at a 7-day auction right now. So during the game on Sunday, people can run it up before it ends.
Evan Bell's laughing in the comments with us. Sorry, Chad. It's we make fun of you too much about your.
That's right. I love you all. Good, the good and the evil.
Greeny Green with the spelling of Falcons. Greeny Green likes your nickname though.
It's the Falcons
or Falcons, but whatever.
I can't pronounce it that way.
That's all right. It's all right.
Whatever floats your boat. It's all good.
That's some good feedback there, gentlemen. That's all I've got for our audience. Excuse me. Chad's got me all messed up here. L's and W's of the week. Lefty, don't feel too left out here. I will have some questions for you at the end of the show. It looks like we already have a bunch of good questions cooking up. So if you've got more questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. And if we have time, we will get to them at the end of the show. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks, Connor. Great work. We'll see you again soon.
I was gonna cry actually, so I'm glad you said something.
Everybody needs to come spend a week up north here in the Wisconsin area with me, so we can get you a little accent.
Yeah, I'm from Michigan, so Chad just sounds like a fellow Michigander, but I don't have the same pronunciations as Chad. But
Joey. Chad can't get away from the bird references. I have tried so hard not to bring up the pigeons this week.
For those of you not in on the joke, Chad also flips pigeons, and so Joey, good on you for bringing that back to the pigeons. Love it. MW's at the gym, getting his core and run done. I respect that. Great Monday start. He says love the content. That's a W. So, all right, fellas, I'm going to get into my buys. I'm still buying Jackson Churio because I just feel safe about that as an investment when he gets the call up or he comes out of spring training on the roster or roster or raster, as Chad might say, which I don't know. I don't know how Chad says roster, but I think Jackson Churio is a great buy. I'm still trying to buy.
Chad. Let's hear it. Come on.
Roster.
Chad?
Oh, hey.
Oh, it was pretty good.
That's pretty normal.
Pretty good. Pretty solid roster. Still trying to buy Jackson Holliday, but Lefty hit on that earlier. It's he's hard to get into right now. So I'm trying to save up money. I'm bankroll managing. So Chad does a great job of bankroll managing, and I'm trying to be like bankroll management guru heading into 2024. So I'm definitely more on that to come, but I'm saving up for a Jackson Holliday card. But the guy that I really think, and the card specifically that I really think people might want to look at going after right now, that I'm going to put as my buy of the week, I'm going to give props to Lefty McKee because he made me think of this in his analysis of the whole Shohei Ohtani situation. He did a special video for the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell not too long ago, the day that Shohei got hurt. Great job, Lefty. He got me thinking, got my wheels turning here. You have a situation where you have Shohei Ohtani since the injury on August 23rd. He hit a home run. He has gotten a hit in all but one game. His batting average has gone up to 307 since the injury. This is a hitter. This is a slugger. This is a guy that is a multi-purpose player. And where Lefty really got me is the free agency thing. So the free agency marker, I'm going to pull something from Fan Nation right now. So props to Fan Nation for writing the following. This is after the injury. The free agency of Ohtani will be one of the most watched in baseball history. It could rival that of LeBron James in the NBA when he took his talents to South Beach. This is going to be a fascinating offseason for the Angels and one they won't ever forget either way. All the team can hope for is that Ohtani believes them that they want to win each year. Ohtani's cards, in spite of the batting average going up, are down over the last however many days you want to slice it. But according to market movers, over the last 14 days, they're down 13%. One in particular is the 2018 Topps Chrome Prisim Refractor Pitching 150 PSA 10. This is a pop count of less than 600, which is right in a pocket where it's not too low of a pop count for it not to be liquid and traded often, but it's not too high of a pop count for it to be outrageous. This is this traded at so before the injury, this traded at $685 on August 16th. After the injury, this is down to it's down $50. So it's down 6%. This is not a card, so it's not down a ton, but it's a card that was going to the moon. And now you have a situation where even though he's not pitching, we don't know when he's going to pitch. I like the fact that it's down. It's a card that fits that pocket. And I like the fact that there's a clear marker to sell, which is free agency. So even though you could argue that maybe it's down because the Angels are out of the playoffs. It doesn't matter. The card's dipped in its last 5 sales. It's gone down to its lowest sale in a long time on August 30th. In spite of him hitting well. So I really, really like the Shohei Ohtani buy. But Lefty, we're gonna go over to you for a comment on that, and then give us who you're buying, man.
I'll just comment on this. I bought a Shohei rookie pitching card the other day. So I'm right there with you, man. I think if there's a dip in Shohei's cards, you gotta buy it. He's gonna be I would say he's borderline one of the best players of all time just because of what he can do and what other players have never been able to do. He's just a freak, and people love investing in freaks, and that's why our show is so popular. We're just 3 freaks out here, and people are investing in us.
Yeah, but we wait for stuff like this to happen too. Like we wait for stars like this to see a dip in pricing. Yeah. And I think now's the time to jump. You and I are on the same page. And again, like with the marker of free agency, to me, that's when I would sell. Like we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if the prices go up, then we'll send out the sell alert when that happens. But Lefty, sorry, before we get to who you're buying, quick question for you. I did research on this and I couldn't find it, but like when do you think he would make a decision on that? Is it going to be like January?
So this was the tricky part. Like free agency has gone a couple different ways the past couple of off seasons. I mean, with the Bryce Harper, that like with the massive signing with Philly, that took a while. And then there was some other ones like, maybe it was Machado that took a while, but there were some other ones that signed early. There were some other instances where it was like December, January. Some of them don't sign until April. If I know, so I know a little bit of Shohei's character from watching him so closely over the last almost 8 years. And here is my assumption. You're getting Lefty McKee's value right here. I think Shohei signs soon after the winter meetings. I don't think he draws it out because I think that he is the kind of guy that is integrous. He's the kind of guy that's not trying to like penny pinch for every single dollar. I think he wants to make money, but I think he wants to win more importantly. So I would see him sign fairly early in the offseason, maybe January, potentially at the winter meetings. And I think he does not sign with LA. I think he signs with either the San Francisco Giants, the Cubs, or the New York Yankees.
I love the predictions because then we can go back and this can be a W of the week for both of us because I would have been right about buying him now and you would have been potentially right about where he signs. And integrous is a word, everyone. It is a word. Having or characterized by integrity. So good work. All right, Lefty, who are you buying, man?
So I've mentioned that I'm buying Max Verstappen. I'm not scared anymore of Max Verstappen. He's on the low end. I already bought a base Chrome rookie last night, PSA 10, and I am pulling the trigger in the next couple of weeks after I pull some sales off of eBay, like after I get some funds back on a Sapphire rookie of his as well. I just like the Sapphire rookie. It's about a $300 price point, and I have a Lando and an Oscar Sapphire as well. So that's the F1 card I choose to buy. I think Caminero, if I was re-ranking my prospects this week, I know it's the first week of September and we like to do it at the end of every month. If I was re-ranking them right now, he would be top 2 and not number 1. Let's just put it that way. Like he is stupid good. I hope that he goes underrated through all of this holiday hype because I am going to buy so heavily into Junior Caminero in this offseason if he does not get pulled up. This guy is so good, man. So buy alert on Caminero and buy him all the way through spring training, I think, if he does not get called up this year. And then my interesting kind of risky buy it right now is Mbappe. His market is kind of all over the place. I was talking to my dude Turner that I've been helping with his sports card strategy. He bought into an Mbappe card at its peak, and it's about at 150. His Prism, his 2018 Prism is about at 150 right now for a PSA 10. And it's intriguing on the low end right now, although the pop count is concerning. So I think it's a buy with speculation, which goes into that's my buys of the week. I don't know. When are we doing this strategy of the week? Do you want me to do that now?
Well, before we get into that, I'm glad that you're talking about soccer because I want to talk about soccer a little bit towards the end of the show. And I'm glad SSI is in the house too, because we'd love his thoughts on who would be a good, what's a good soccer card strategy. But yeah, Lefty, go ahead. Give us your strategy right now.
Actually, I actually just looked at it, and it was our basically where I am interested in buying Topps Now cards when they are relevant and investable, and then immediately shipping them to PSA, and then buying Ben Shelton cards, buying and selling Ben Shelton because I think he's a guy that's going to be crazy produced in the next 2-3 years because he's going to be the American that people are going to love.
Yeah, I like that strategy a lot. The Topps Now one, especially where you don't even, I like the fact that you didn't even open it. Well, you opened it to see if there was a parallel, but then you just shipped them all in the thing to PSA.
Yeah, I literally opened the thing and I was like, flip. Okay, no parallel. Close it, ship it away. Next time I probably won't even open that. I'll just see if I got a parallel when when I get there,
All right. Stay tuned for the audience Q&A coming up here in a minute where we answer some questions more about who we're buying. But Chad, who are you buying?
All right. So I'm done buying football now. I'm going to wait till the season starts and buy the dips during the season on football. I am selling football right now. But buying, I am Giannis, Anthony Edwards, SGA, Luka. Those are the 4 I'm concentrating on right now. If you follow me on my Instagram, you saw a picture of the Giannis Prism PSA 10 rookie that I just picked up this past week. I had been wanting that card for a while, and I had to free up some funds in order to get it. It was $1,000, it's about $1,000 card. So I freed up the funds and spent them right away and got it. I couldn't be happier. I love Giannis, but I have one deep sleeper every year that I look for. I've been messaging back and forth, having some fun with Gary from Hoops and Cards. Shout out to him. And And Paul was like, who? On the, I think it was on the show and tell.
Yeah.
Simon Fontecchio. He is my deep sleeper this year. I've bought 3 of his auto cards. I've bought 2 of his Silver Prism. Simon Fontecchio. He plays for the Utah Jazz. He was a stud overseas for several years. Finally came over to the Utah Jazz last year. Really struggled with the physicality of the NBA. He couldn't find his touch from behind the arc, and he's a shooter. And he just really struggled. He couldn't find a role in the Utah Jazz. And I said, the World Cup is coming up, which I have been loving the World Cup. This is just awesome for basketball. There have been some card spikes because of it. It's been great. But he has single-handedly thrown Italy on his back, who should not have ever made it through the knockout round. They were, according to the odds makers, they were to take third in their group, end up taking first in their group, end up winning their next game in an upset fashion. He dropped 30 in the knockout round, and now he gets to play the United States in the quarterfinals. He's either going to upset the USA, which is going to be very depressing for us in the United States, and he's going to go ballistic, or hopefully the USA wins. But he's shown enough that I absolutely love this guy. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I'm planting my flag on a guy that nobody's ever heard before, Simon Fontecchio. Go spend $3 and buy a card. What do you got to lose?
What cards does he have, Chad?
He has the ones that I've been buying is I bought 2 Phoenix autographs and 1 rookie ticket, Contenders rookie ticket auto. He does have Prism. He does have Phoenix. He does have Contenders. Fontecchio, Fontecchio, Fontecchio. I sent it to you in the text message when he dropped 30.
I didn't even know the name, so there's no way I was gonna be Googling.
We got it in the show notes too. So if you're in the live chat right now, don't worry. If you're watching later on YouTube, just look below, you'll see it. And if you're listening on Apple and Spotify, go to nooffseason.com, find the show, and you'll see the spelling. We're gonna link to the cards too, because Connor writes an article every day after the show, writes 2 articles every day after the show. One is who we're buying and the other is who we're selling. So there'll be links to these cards. This Fontecchio guy that Chad concocted out of his brain. We'll have links directly at nooffseason.com. So don't worry about that. Hey, Connor, let's get you in here real quick. We're going to interrupt before we go to before we go to Lefty. Connor. Have you heard of this guy? Let's be honest.
I like to think of myself as a basketball savant. Wow. So I have heard of him. I got to side with Dr. Crack here. And I actually like his game a lot too. He's not a common name, but I have heard of him a little bit.
Let's go, Connor.
He's sneaky athletic too. He's got a little bit of length to him, and he's sneaky athletic. I think he's a good sleeper pick. I'm with you here, Chad.
Connor is actually a basketball savant. I will back that up. So that's impressive. We know Chad's a savant with everything related to cards. So glad both of you guys are able to join Lefty and I, who are definitely less than savants. Sorry, Lefty. Lefty, over to you for who you're selling.
Well, I'm selling Chad because he was talking about me being into marginal like things about F1 and tennis earlier, and he's out here watching the FIBA World Championships with Simon Fontecchio, or however he says it, is the guy he's investing in. Silly. All right, I'm gonna buy a Fontecchio card. Send me a link, Chad, and I'll buy whichever one you recommend. And then we'll just ride this wave together.
I'll do one better for you, Lefty. I'll mail you one of mine.
Boom. Let's go. Is it Simon or is it Simeone?
Simon.
All right, fair.
Chad pronounced his name correctly.
I wanted it to be Simeone. All right. What am I answering here? Sell of the week?
Well, we need who both of you guys are selling. So Whichever one of you guys wants to go first, I don't care. It was supposed to be Chad, so I screwed it up.
Well, I kind of preempted it and said I was selling football. Brock Purdy in particular, because in the last 30 days, we aren't even sure if he's 100% healthy. There's way too much baked into his prices. Brock Purdy has nowhere to go but down with his card prices. If he comes out and the 49ers start 8-0, his card prices are going down because they are so high right now. It is ridiculous.
I could not agree with you
Purdy.
more. I could not agree with you more. Well said.
I did, and I don't know how to get it up, but I did in my notes that I put. I did have the clip there that showed all of his cards.
That's okay. We got you. You're bringing it strong.
My sell of the week is, depending on how the U.S. Open ends up finishing, I probably will sell anybody other than Carlos Alcaraz, because of this is the end of the tennis season, and so many of the guys that I have a couple of cards of are in this quarterfinal. So if Tiafoe loses and Ben Shelton goes to the next round, I'll sell my Ben Shelton card. And if Sinner beats Alcaraz, I will definitely be selling my Sinner cards.
All right. I am with Chad on this FIBA thing. So the FIBA hype is real. This basketball tournament that's happening right now, it's very exciting. And when you look at Anthony Edwards, I mean, even though U.S. lost to Lithuania over the weekend, Edwards had another amazing individual performance and was kind of putting Team USA on his back a bit. And he's been strong all tournament. His card prices have reflected what he's done in this tournament. I've been monitoring his card prices closely. His base Prism PSA 10 is up about 40% from when I bought it during the NBA season. It's up to over $100. Like, it's selling for as high as $120 for a base Prism PSA 10. That's very high. It was around $75 to $80 previously. So I'm selling that card. I'm also selling any other Anthony Edwards cards that are PSA 9s or lower graded autos than that. It's just a huge FIBA bump for Anthony Edwards. His 2020 Optic Hollow PSA 10 is also up 44%. So if you're holding Anthony Edwards cards right now, I will say that he is extremely hot on eBay right now, like extremely hot. Everyone is searching up Anthony Edwards. It's getting a lot added to watch lists, getting a lot of bids. I would list your Anthony Edwards cards in 10-day auctions right now. I am having success listing my Anthony Edwards cards. The only Anthony Edwards card I am holding back out of all of them that I own is my Prism Silver PSA 10 from 2020. So the Prism Silver PSA 10 from 2020 is up like all the rest of his major cards, but it's not up quite enough for me to sell it yet. It's up to over $700, which I could crystallize, but I really feel like that card could easily be $1,000 card in the long term because of how good he is. And I do believe there are more markers for him, but I don't think that the markers are going to be there for him until he makes it very, very far into the NBA playoffs, which who knows when that's going to happen. I think it will happen in his career, but it could be a while. So I think you could sell Anthony Edwards right now during this FIBA hype, and it really, really serve you well to do so. Same with Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero's card prices are up. I'm even listing my Tyrese Halliburton's just because, like, I've got a lot of PSA 9 Tyrese Halliburton cards. Those are not going to really sell very well. It might be hard to move, actually, if they're not special, if they're not autos or serial numbered. So I really think if you have like base or sort of select variation 2020 PSA 9 Tyrese Halliburton's, I would list those. Lastly, guys, I got to take a moment here. This could take a while. I know we're an hour and a half into the show, but it is Labor Day. Guys, I said my wins of the week could take up the whole show, and here we go. One name for you. Shedeur M. Sanders.
Let's go. I've been waiting for this the whole episode.
We're 90 minutes in, and I'm finally mentioning Shedeur M. Sanders. Guys, sell. If you haven't listed Shedeur, I'm telling you, sell now. There are so many searches for Shedeur Sanders auto on eBay. There is a ridiculous amount more searches for Shedeur Sanders auto on eBay than there was prior to Coach Prime leading the Colorado Buffaloes to a win, a huge win over the number 17 ranked defending runner-ups, TCU Horned Frogs at TCU. If you don't believe now, it's bad on you. You got to believe. You got to sell Shedeur Sanders, 510 passing yards, school record, 4 TDs, dominant performance. And I can understand the question, right? This is where we are better analysts than other people in the hobby trying to help you make money flipping sports cards, because we understand the temptation to hold. We understand it as well as anybody else. But you got to sell him now. There's more searches than ever. Yes, he could continue to be successful. But to Chad's point about Brock Purdy, the risk definitely outweighs the reward on this one. Sell Shedeur Sanders. These are specifically Onyx autos, okay? They're Onyx autos. This whole play was designed for this sell moment, really, is what it was. We didn't know when it would come. Lefty and I didn't know exactly when it would come.
Oh, I just looked at what this card is selling for. Oh my lordy.
Dude, I'm telling you. So let's analyze this, right? So Lefty bought a raw Shedeur Sanders auto, I would say somewhere between
I'm looking at the data right now.
8 and 12 months ago ish. Okay. And
I
I've
bought
got some
it June 7th, 2022.
Okay, perfect. So that's 14 months ago?
Yeah, 14 months ago.
14 months ago, Lefty, what'd you buy it for?
$12.50.
Okay. The PSA, I listed a PSA 9 of that card, which typically is comparable to a raw auto, although
Mine's
maybe
the out of 400 blue ink auto.
Out of 400 blue ink. Thank you for the clarification. There's like 4 or 5 levels of this card. The out of 400 blue ink PSA 9. I said, you know what? I'm going to list this. And I listed it right after the Colorado win. I'm telling you guys, let me pull this up right now. I'm telling you guys, I have never had as much interest in a single card in my years of selling on eBay. So the Shedeur Sanders 2021 Onyx Blue Ink PSA 9. Guys, it has, get to it, Paul. Get to it faster. See, I told you my win of the way. Here we go. 39 watchers, 19 bids. There's 8. This is the beautiful part. There's 8 days and 7 hours left on this auction. It's at $245. So you could take a 15. Now, I didn't pay $15 for mine. I paid way more than that because I bought it way after Lefty did. But I paid over $100 for mine. I had it graded at PSA because the prices had gone up. They had gone up a lot since when Lefty bought his. When we talked about it on the show, and then he bought his. This is 8 days left. So the beautiful part about this is he goes and plays Nebraska. I'm going to get the benefits of not only his win over TCU, but I'm going to get any potential benefits of the hype going into the Nebraska game, how he plays in the Nebraska game. This card could sell for over $400. This card could potentially sell for over $500. Lefty, you bought this card for $15. You're welcome, everybody. Now, also, Matt Esterman. Matt Esterman is a great audience member of the show, great premium member of nooffseason.com. This is why he and other people listen to us, and this is why they subscribe to our content. And thank you, Matt, for submitting this to me in an email on Saturday. He said, my first attempted purchase of the Shedeur Sanders out of 400 blue ink auto for Onyx was on October 2nd, 2022. So that was like 5 months after Lefty bought his. I did end up buying from that seller 3 months later after they canceled that sale. The sale was for $23. The seller canceled it because the seller was like, no, I'm going to hold this. Matt bought from the same seller for $60 3 months later. In total, he bought 5 base Onyx cards, 12 blue autos out of 400, 4 green autos out of 50. Matt went all in on us, Lefty. 1 red auto out of 25. In total, he bought 22 Shedeur Sanders rookie Onyx cards. Total purchase, including shipping and tax, $1,724.78. He had 13 of them graded at $25 each for $325. Total investment, $2,049.79. Total sales in one day. The day was Saturday, of course. $3,934.98. Net profit in one day after eBay fees and shipping, $1,821.91. Get ready for it. He's still holding 4 of them. Shedeur Sanders, sell him now. Huge win. Dominate the show. You got to love this, guys.
I was going to grade this card, but not now. I'm getting rid of it. If you want it, you can buy it from me. $275.
This is why we do what we do. Do not hold this Shedeur Sanders auto.
I already made the eBay listing. Now I got to take a picture.
That's who I'm selling. So we're going to get into audience buys and sells and questions here with Connor. But real quick before we do, I got a couple of things. So Matt also wants to give a big shout out to Lefty because he says he's well in over 2K profit on the Ellie De La Cruz just from listening to us. So can't say enough to Paul, Lefty, and Chad. It's been fun to watch the pod grow and expand. He says, now what's next? Heavily invested
Junior
in James.
Caminero.
Yep. So thank you. There you go, Matt. Lefty says Junior Caminero. Lefty, Matt also says, I'm heavily invested in James Woods, Xavier Isaacs, Jackson Churio, Jackson Holliday. I think Matt gets
That's the one guy that you haven't invested in yet that we've been recommending. So go get you some Caminero. Even Chad likes Caminero.
I think Matt gets it, guys.
I love Caminero. I have more Caminero than I do Chourio or Holliday.
So we're going to get to Connor in a second, but Scott Fuquay asked a great question in an email. Scott's a premium member at nooffseason.com. He says, any info on soccer cards? Haven't seen any info in several months. Rankings. We're working on that, Scott, and everybody else who's wondering about soccer card rankings. That's in the mix. Still holding Bellingham's. I've been on a messy kick. Any particular years other than 2014 Prisms or types? Pack. Serial numbered less than 100, less than 50. His autos are $1,000 plus. I can buy 1 or 2 if that is better than buying 10 others at 200. I hope the high tide raises all cards, so maybe easier to say what to stay away from. He also asked about Ronaldo. No one is talking about Ronaldo. So I think the question here is, and I want to marry this together with a question for Lefty. Talk about soccer cards. Talk about what you think the best buys are related to Messi, if there's any related to Ronaldo, and then cap that off with my question for you, Lefty, which is, what is Messi's true marker right now? Because I don't understand what's happening in the MLS. Like, I don't get it. I thought he was doing something in Nashville that was important. I thought he was doing something in Cincinnati that was important. I turn on ESPN. I still see he's playing in the MLS. The MLS playoffs are coming up. Retirement. Chad's talked about his retirement potentially. So I know that's a lot loaded all in one, but Lefty, talk about soccer, talk about Messi, Ronaldo, and then explain, like, is there a marker at MLS to sell Messi?
I think Messi will end up being the Michael Jordan of sports cards here very soon. Like, everything will sell. Everything will have a good margin on it. You can buy something now and it will sell higher in a year. I think, like, the way that people have invested and traded Michael Jordan cards for the last 20 years, I think we are on the start of those Messi cards going forward. Messi is an incredible dude. He's going to be incredibly involved in the MLS going forward. I saw an article today that he has enough money to buy the entire MLS. Like, he could not only buy Inter Miami, he could, because the way that the MLS is structured. Now go with me. This is business talk for a second. Every single entity in America is every single. Let me start it this way. Every team in Europe is its own entity. Some of the teams in Europe, even at the top flight, are worth like $400 to $500 million in terms of an investment standpoint. Like, you could buy the club for around that price point. Every franchise in the MLS is worth over $1 billion because of the way that they've structured the entity in itself. The MLS is I believe it is an LLC, and each one of the franchises are that in itself. It is a franchise of MLS branded differently. So the owners buy into a franchise of the Major League Soccer brand rather than buying a club that is separate from the Major League Soccer brand. So that's why, for instance, when San Diego just awarded San Diego just got awarded the final potential expansion of the MLS, the San Diego Loyal, basically, which is Landon Donovan's team, basically disbanded because now they know that their franchise is not worth a dime because they didn't win when Manny Machado and his ownership group won the bid for the San Diego expansion team. That's a lot to say. Every single MLS team is owned the same way. They're owned in different franchises of Major League Soccer. Now, that might not make much sense, but what I'm saying is I think Messi could buy the MLS rather than buy Inter Miami, which I think would be very interesting going forward, which would help Messi's cards go tenfold and would help MLS cards go tenfold, by the way, because who doesn't want to play in the greatest soccer player of all times league? And I think Maradona cards were incredible for a long, long time. Now the Argentine has the World Cup. He has literally every marker you could want. Everybody loves him. He's an incredible dude. He's going to continue to hit markers. He could potentially, this is a long shot, but he could potentially win the USA treble this year, which would be the League Cup. He could potentially win the cup that they won a couple of weeks ago, the New Mexico versus USA Cup, and he could win the US Open Cup. He could win a treble here in America after only playing half of a season. So there are a lot of markers as well. He could still end up winning MVP. I think that's a long shot for this year, but he's definitely going to win MVP next year. Definitely going to win Golden Boot next year. There's just so many markers for this guy being the best soccer player of all time. Let me stop on the Messi talk for a second, unless you have a question.
No, I think that's great. Keep going.
So Ronaldo, let me talk to you why he is taking a pretty big hit. They have always been compared. Okay, which one would you rather have? The way that I put it is Ronaldo was built in a lab and Messi was built from the gods. They're both perfect in the way that they have played their style of game, but Ronaldo will age differently because of his athleticism. Messi will age differently because of the way he soaks pressure. Now, also, I think they would both go down in history and will go down in history as some of the best players that we've ever seen. And I've gotten the ability to watch them for 10 plus years. And most of the time they've played each other, which has been incredible. Ronaldo, unfortunately, chose to go to, he thought his branding was going to excel by going to Saudi Arabia. And I think his branding has hurt pretty significantly by going to Saudi Arabia. I haven't looked at his card prices recently, but what I know that I saw a card that was worth $120,000 when he was on the bench at Manchester United. When he was on the bench at Manchester United, his Porto or his Sporting PSA 10, or sorry, it might have been even Raw, was worth $120,000. And I held one at the National that was a PSA 10, and it was worth like $50,000. So, his price is taking a very significant hit. And so, in a way, it might be a good time to buy in Ronaldo, but I'm still not buying into him because I think there are other the media is really good at comparing them both, and they always compare Ronaldo as the bad guy in this situation. I don't think he is, but they compare him that way. And we know that media is a big part of the cards. Another guy that I'm buying right now is I would buy a Holland. This guy is scoring more goals than anyone ever heard of ever. And if I'm buying Mbappe, like I said, he was in my buy earlier, I'm buying Holland as well, because these are the two guys that are going to be Ballon d'Or guys going forward. They're going to be the two best in the world. They're going to be the two best in Europe. And the two other dudes that are worth investing in are in Saudi Arabia and USA. And that's some guys that I would be willing to put a stake on. I also love Jude Bellingham. I ended up trading a Jude Bellingham for a Messi at the National, but that is not because I don't like Jude. I just would rather have the GOAT.
Love it. I totally agree with you on Mbappe and Haaland as buys. That just feels right to me. Thanks, Lefty.
Which
and
now
thanks
is
for the
like,
question, Scott.
honestly, we just exited a sell season for soccer because the season is officially started. You know, it's like the hype of them coming out is done. Manchester, they just drew in the Champions League, so now we're gonna kind of get to like a more rhythmic system. I would say now is probably a good time to start watching cards, and to be able to sell them at the end of the year when these guys are winning championships, when they're winning tournaments, when they're winning, all sorts of crazy accolades, and when they're scoring a bunch of goals.
Janelle Shu loves Phil Foden right now.
Phil Foden is a guy that is probably going to also increase in value.
There we go. Good call, Janelle. All right. Thanks, Lefty. Good soccer card strategy. If only we could get SSI to come in and clarify what is Erling Haaland's true rookie? Because I don't think we've heard that from SSI anytime recently.
I think the one that is seen as the one that is the most investable is his Champions League Dortmund card. Even though that's not the first one.
I know SSI is getting fired up right now.
It's not the one that is his true rookie card, but it's the one that sells most often.
Yeah. All right, Connor, what else we got queued up for the audience Q&A, brother?
Yeah, let's start with Evan Bell. Evan has a card show this weekend. He's asking if, since it's more of a buying season right now for basketball, do we recommend he just holds on to these cards for a later date and just sells his football, baseball, other sport cards? Or is it worth it for him to take higher end basketball cards to the show? Chad, what are your thoughts here?
Yes, absolutely. Take them both. You never know who's going to be at a show. You never know who's going to be looking for what. When I go to a show, if I'm going to go set up at a show, I try to take a little bit of everything because you never know who might come. And if you have, like, for example, when Lefty and I and Paul were walking around the National, we were on a mission to find Jackson Holliday cards, right? Nobody had them. If somebody had Wood or Chourio or Caminero, we'd have bought them because we had money we wanted to spend on first Bowman Chrome cards, and nobody had any. So when you go to a show, you try to be as diverse as you possibly can because you might be the only guy there with Star Wars cards or Pokemon cards or soccer or tennis or pickleball or whatever it is that you're bringing. You take as much as you can and set up a little bit of everything. So yes, take them all.
And to your point, Chad, we were walking around trying to find those guys, and I was just pocketing the money. I just pocketed the money, and I was like, I'll go buy some on eBay next week. And then we walked by some Roki Suzuki's, and I was just standing there like, gotta have them.
Shout out to Jeff Ulrich, who was with you on that. But yeah, you guys are.
Apparently, he got burned in that sale.
Oh,
or
no.
that buy.
Well, L of the week. Sorry about that, Jeff. But I agree with you guys. I love Lefty's strategy of pocketing the money. I love Chad's strategy of when you can be different at a show, be different at the show. Because I totally agree. Like, I was looking for Jackson Churio. The only reason I even got a Jackson Churio is because I was talking to Chase Krim and somebody overheard me and was like, I've got one, and he didn't even have it out. He wasn't going to sell it, but he sold it to me because I knew Chase Krim, which was a nice little bonus. So great question, Evan. Good luck at the show. And I know Evan is going to the show rocking some sports card strategy show gear. So if any of you are going to card shows or card shops and want some sports card strategy show gear, we will equip you as part of our ambassador program, which we're launching quietly behind the scenes. You can email me at paul@nooffseason.com if you want more info on that.
Ew.
Yep, good stuff, Paul. Yeah, Evan, enjoy the show this weekend. Sounds like all three of the fellas here are on the same page in terms of trying to be as diverse as you can. Let's stick with basketball for a minute. Paul, Shane Graham's got some questions about Anthony Edwards. You mentioned that you wanted to hold on to your Prism Silver for the time being just because it hadn't spiked enough for you to be content with getting rid of it. He wants to know what you would do with PSA 9s. We were talking last week about dumping PSA 9s. to be able to move them while you could. What do you think, Paul? Would you drop a PSA 9 in terms of a Prism Silver for Anthony Edwards right now, or are you holding it like a PSA 10?
I'm selling the PSA 9. Shane says it's up about 50%, so I'd have to fact check that. I assume that's correct since he framed it that way in his question, but especially if that is correct, I'm definitely dumping the Anthony Edwards Prism Silver PSA 9 right now. It's just not going to yield as much interest in the long run as a PSA 10. You've heard Lefty talk about this strategy a lot on the show. Whenever a PSA 9 of any non-serial numbered, really non-short printed, non-autographed card goes up, I think you got to take that opportunity, especially to sell the PSA 9. So Chad, Lefty, jump in if you disagree, but I think Shane's got to sell those PSA 9.
Sell it, dude.
I want to jump in here because if you just roll back the tape a little bit, you heard me saying I'm buying Ant-Man right now. He's one of my buys, and now we're talking hard about selling. If you're up 50% on a 9, cash out. Take the money on a 9. However, I am buying Ant-Man. I am looking at buying raw, and I am getting graded for the start of the NBA season. However, with FIBA, if the United States loses, right now Anthony Edwards is playing terrific. He dropped 30-some points in their first loss in the tournament. However, if they lose and they do not win this, watch the players tank. Their cards will dip hard a week to 2 weeks after the FIBA World Cup. If they win, a week to 2 weeks after they win, their cards will dip. It's natural. It's going to happen. I'm going to buy the dip either when the USA loses or 2 weeks after they win to get ready for the NBA season. There will be a dip with the players in the FIBA World Cup.
Cool.
Totally agree. Totally agree with Chad. Great points.
Lefty, I'm gonna swing over to you real quick. Let's talk some baseball for a minute. This has come from Shane Graham too. He wants to know if the PSA 9 in general hate is going too far. He picked up a James Wood Bowman first speckle out of $299 in PSA 9 for just over $40, and it looks like sales have jumped to $60, $70, and as high as $75. He's wondering if the hate's just too high on PSA 9s right now, or if you can still make some good profit plays there.
Well, I think this was exactly what Paul was talking about in general. If you out of $299 is a serial numbered card that doesn't have an extremely high pop count. I mean, the highest that it could have is $299. So, and that's just not going to. There's going to be some that are chewed up and everything. There's obviously going to be some 10s out there. But I think this is borderline where I would be okay buying a 9 is if it was serial numbered about this realm or higher. Usually I would go 250. It would be my cutoff, but a speckle 299 probably I could be interested in that. What really affects my psyche though is when I get pissed off that I sell a card that I bought for $45 that I bought for $45. I sold it for $75. And what gets me pissed off is when I can look and the PSA 10 is going for $1,000. And I'm just like, okay, like I made $30, but I could have just bought a PSA 10 and made $300. So,
and another play, which I personally don't do for integrity reasons, but is buying that card for $40 and a 9, cracking it out and selling it raw for the raw. I actually have a friend of mine that watches my eBay listings, and he has anything that I have saved in a PSA 8 or 9, and he's constantly checking me because he knows I won't crack them, and he buys all of my 9s that are worth more in raw, and he cracks them and sells them and makes money. He's like, dude, I don't understand why you won't just take the profits.
Integrous.
Well, we're talking a lot about selling sports cards. I just want to jump in real quick and remind everybody you can get sell alerts by texting sports cards to 1-833-992-5727. Text sports cards to 1-833-992-5727 to get your sell alerts. Connor, who do we got queued up next?
But yeah, let's stick to those sell alerts for a second. We're working hard on these sell alerts. We're dropping these alerts within 24 hours of when we're seeing these markers for every player that we're seeing that we think you need to sell urgently. So Janelle Shu wants to know, for the cards that we're discussing in our sell alerts, do we need to be doing 10-day auctions on these, or are they an immediate thing, to where if you sort it at a longer auction, are you losing and cutting into some of your profit potential? Lefty, what are you thinking here?
I would do 7-day auction.
Okay.
Chad, I see you over there. What do you think?
Do not do an auction on these sell alerts.
Really? Why? Because sorry, Connor, let's unpack this between Chad and I.
You're the exception to the rule. With
I got to
Shedeur
poop, boys.
Sanders.
I got to
Okay.
go.
Okay, there it is. Breaking news: Lefty's got to poop. Well, we may or may not see him.
Outros I've ever seen.
We may or may not see him again today. Sorry,
that's got to end up on a little excerpt promoting our show.
No.
Anyways, the Shedeur Sanders is the exception, not the rule, because you're catching the hype where your 10-day auction, if he does well again against Nebraska, that's different than most of these other. What we're doing with these text alerts, most of these are Bowman Chrome first baseball prospects, and like Curtis Mead, for example, he came in and he didn't do anything. By the time that 10-day auction ends, if he has 2 or 3 bad games, you are losing so much money. There are more Curtis Mead text alerts than there are Ellie De La Cruz text alerts. The majority of these text alerts are going to be get them up and get them sold. If I'm going to participate in these, I'm going to list them as a buy it now, slightly less than the last sale, and get it gone, or slightly more depending upon when the last sale was. But I want to price it at a price point that somebody's going to smack that buy it now right now today. I want it gone. I want to crystallize. I don't want to wait 10 days and hope that my baseball prospect hits the ball. Sal Frelick was a great example. He came up and he had the game of all games, was 3 for 3 on base 4 times, 2 RBIs, won the game, 2 highlight reel catches. His cards went to the moon. That lasted about 5 days. Then he went on an 0 for 13 streak, and by the 10th day, those cards had dropped $200. It went to $360. It went from 125 to 360, and by the 10th day, that card was back down to $150. I want to crystallize on those profits right away.
Yeah, Paul, I'm a little surprised here that you're not going with the buy it now route, because I feel like you're a little bit more conservative in terms of using markers to crystallize your profits.
Yeah.
To me, especially with how many of these sell alerts are baseball call-ups that will be playing quickly, does that not concern you in terms of them fizzling out quickly and really cutting into your profits?
It's a great question, and I see the point of view there, and I understand where Chad's coming from. I'm taking a completely different perspective on this, and I'll break it down like this. So with an auction, there's a sense of urgency that it's going to end. So also, when you list something in a buy it now format, I guess I would play devil's advocate and I would say, why would you not have already listed it? Like, to me, the whole premise of the auction versus the buy it now or best offer is that for a buy it now or best offer, you can list it at any time for whatever price you want. So if we're talking about sell alerts, to me, it's inherently an auction, because you should have already had it listed as a buy it now or best offer. Because then you can build up people that are on a watch list. You can build up your watch list when you have it listed as a buy it now or best offer. And so if you're going to go with the buy it now or best offer strategy, you should do it far ahead of when you would list it for a sell alert, because you're going to have more views, you're going to have more watchers, and then you could lower the price, or you could change the price, which then triggers the alert to the people on your watch list. So to me, that's just a different bit of an intricacy in the eBay selling strategy. For me, the sell alert is a 10-day auction, Janelle. And here's why. Because A, you get the new listing benefit. There's a lot of people that are searching for new listings because they want to get in on an auction. Auctions generate a sense of urgency in terms of the card will not be available after a certain amount of time. The 10-day auction, even though Chad makes a really good point about a failure to perform with a baseball prospect, I would argue that you still get the initial interest of the new listing coming upon the call up, or in Shedeur Sanders' case, to me, they're actually the same thing, because in Shedeur's case, you get the initial hype of the performance spike, but then you still have, so what I said earlier in my sell on Shedeur Sanders is within the first 2 hours, I had like 15 bids. Within the first 24 hours, I have 19 bids. That card's already it's already going to sell for over $300. I may have listed that card for $300 in a buy it now or best offer situation, and I may have accepted $250, because that's the other way. That's the other reason I would do an auction, because you don't know how hyped the market is on that player. So you could lose money by doing a buy it now or best offer. So I think, yes, the performance going down could hinder the pricing of that card. But let's say Shedeur craps the bed while Lefty's off taking a crap. Shedeur could crap the bed against Nebraska, but I still have the benefit of the 19 bids right now. The worst case scenario is that it goes unpaid for. That would suck. But again, I think the risk is definitely worth taking in terms of getting the benefit of the sense of urgency, the card going away, not being available anymore. And I would argue again, like if you were just going to list it for buy it now or best offer, why didn't you do that weeks or months ahead of time? That's my takes,
I don't, and I'll give you a little insight as to why. Paul and I just have different philosophical differences here on how we eBay things, and that's what makes this card hobby so much fun. Is you have two successful people doing it two different ways, and we're both right.
Exactly.
That's the beautiful thing here. But the reason I don't is I've had too many go unpaid. So all of a sudden he craps the bed. He breaks his femur, and he may never play football again, Joe Theismann-esque. And they don't pay for the card listing. I could have had $300 in my pocket moving on to the next play already. So I like the instant pay me now. I'll worry about if I cost myself $50 later. Get me now. I want the money.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Chad where he's coming from. It's just a different preference for me. So I agree with Chad. Like we're both right on this, and I think I'm happy that we unpacked this. And it's a great question by Chanel. So it's really to each his own. As long as you know both sides of it and you make your decision with all that. And it may come down to the card. It may come down to the situation too, right, Chad? It may come down to what's your personal situation with that card? Meaning, what did you pay for that card? When did you buy it? How long have you really been wanting to sell it? Like all those different things I do think play into what your end decision is going to be. And maybe if I would have had a different situation with my Shedeur Sanders card, maybe I would have listed it and buy it now. I mean, my Cam Thomas, for example, is a similar situation to Shedeur. Those were listed as buy it now or best offers. They were not listed as 10-day auctions because I knew Cam Thomas was going to play the next night. And I knew he wasn't going to put up 40 points in a row for the fourth game in a row. You know what I mean? So I do totally see Chad's point, and I think it is to each his own, and you have to have both sides of the argument and then make your decision on that particular scenario for that card.
Great question.
Yeah, great answers, boys. It sounds like it just kind of depends on your strategy here. Paul and Chad gave some great feedback either way. Brian Hunt, I think that kind of answered your question as well. Keep in mind, those of you in the audience, if you have questions that we don't get to, please do drop them in the YouTube comments, or if you're a premium member, obviously submit them for the Overflow show, and we'll be happy to answer them wherever you do put those comments. One more question from my end. I'm going to leave this one for you, Paul. I think I know your and Chad's answers to this, but Greeny Green wants to know, in terms of where prices are now and how much room there is for growth, should we be buying Josh Giddey instead of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander?
No, because, and I'm going to break this down a little bit further. I love you, Greeny Green. Great thought process. But Giddey's the third guy on the Thunder team behind Shea and Chet. Giddey doesn't score that much. I've said this before on an earlier episode of Sports Card Strategy. I know Greeny Green, I think you took a break over the summer and now you're back. We'd love to have you back. I think in an episode over the summer, I said something along the lines of, I look at what is it going to take from a marker standpoint to move the needle. For me, with Giddey, it's going to take, unless you're global in Australia, right? It's going to take like multiple triple doubles in a row, some kind of Russell Westbrook-esque comparison on ESPN, versus Shea just he's going to pop off. He's going to put up 30, 40. He's going to hit a game winner. It doesn't take as much for Shea to move the needle as it will for Giddey. I also think Giddey's overpriced. I think Giddey is still overpriced for what he actually is. When I look at the fact that I could get one Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Prism Silver PSA 10 from 2018. Hopefully I'd be able to get it for around $600. It last sold for $510. That Giddey card is $285. So would I rather have two Giddeys or one Shea for the same price? To me, that's Giddey being overpriced, coming off the fact that he's more of a recent rookie hype. Now he's going into his third year, so he's not super recent, but I just think Giddey is carrying with him some more recency hype in terms of being a rookie than Shea, whereas Shea is a 2018 rookie. My final thought on this is like when you with overpricing, I mean, I'm looking at eBay listings right now. I could buy a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 2018 Panini Contenders playoff ticket rookie auto out of 65 raw condition for $565 right now. I could get a PSA 9 of that card for less than $1,000. I could even get, well, no, that's in person signed. I don't want that one. I could get a PSA 10 Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for less than $900 ball low photo variation Contenders rookie ticket auto. Those prices to me feel a lot better than having to pay for a similar Josh Giddey card and again pay about half the price. I'd just rather have the Shea. But Chad, am I missing anything on that?
No, Giddey is one of those, if you're going to spread your net wide, he's a guy that you can dabble in. You could make a lot of money off of him buying some cards cheaper if he hits a marker, gets traded, does something great. He is not the type of guy that you are going to make a ton of money on flipping because he's not the guy. Shea is the guy. The amount of liquidity between Giddey and Shea is astronomical. Shea has so many different things that he can do. Shea might go out on game one of the preseason tournament type thing. He might go out, they win a game they shouldn't have won, and he drops 70 points and his card goes to the moon. Giddey's not that guy. He's just not. So I like Giddey. I like Giddey as a play. I've actually got two Giddey cards that I've got, but again, I spread my net really wide. Giddey's not a guy that's in my top 5, 10, 20. I don't think he's even in my top 30 players for who I would target. But that doesn't mean you can't make money on him.
And there's one more thing. There's one more thing I want to add to this because I know we're over 2 hours now. Thanks for those of you who have stuck with us the whole show. Hopefully it's been beneficial and educational for you. It's been fun for us. I think contextually, I always look at things from sitting at home and being able to bid on cards or buy them online in some way, shape, or form. And so when I give my answers, that's the context I'm thinking about. But I want to bring up something very important because we have Evan Bell going to card shows. There was the Burbank show that Duke and Anthony from Graybows, they were there. I know a lot of other friends of the show were at the Burbank show. I wish I could have been there, but couldn't make it out to California over Labor Day weekend. But when you're at a card show, right, Chad, like when you're at a card show or maybe you're going through some value boxes somewhere in the world, and this is for me to say, don't think of this segment and think, well, Paul said Shea over Giddey. If you see a Giddey and it's gradable and it's low priced, to Chad's point, you can make money off of those. Like that's where you can make money off of a guy like Giddey. So I want to bring back in the context of this because we really want to help you make money flipping sports cards. And it's not me saying don't buy Giddey because he's the third guy on the team. He does sell well. He does have a huge fan base and a lot of people waiting for him to play well. So, and buy his cards. So I think you can make plays if you can find him for the right price, maybe at card shows. So I just want to make that final point about Greeny Green's question, because it's a good question.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that we as card people make is listening to us, the quote unquote experts, and you only target who we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
I made that mistake early on, just following the plays, and I lost a lot of money that way, because by the time I'd follow the play and I'd do the play and then I didn't take into account all the other factors that come on, I'd lose money, and I'd be like, well, those guys don't know what they're talking about. Buy something that you can make money on. There are many of you guys in this audience, and I know this, that are really smart dudes and gals. And you can, if you like the card and you think there's money to be had, take a risk and buy the card.
Absolutely.
And then come on the show and tell us, hey, you morons, I just bought this card you've never heard of, and I doubled my money. We're going to high five you. We're going to say, great job. That's awesome. Buy the card.
Absolutely. And when you're not able to come on the live chat, definitely follow us on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy. DM us. We're going to give you some love, or find the YouTube video at youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Comment on it. We're going to give you some love and reply. Whether you're cutting down trees like Oh My Shoes was earlier in the episode and you weren't able to be in the live chat, or you're just not able to get in at 8 a.m. Eastern time on a Monday morning, we totally understand. We also do the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell live at 8 a.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. And if you want to get on the Sports Card Strategy Show and Tell, email me at paul@nooffseason.com. Thanks again to everyone. Happy Labor Day. Connor, Chad, do you guys have anything else before I hit the outro?
No, great show today. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great Labor Day, and good luck at your show this next weekend.
All right, everybody. Sonia, bring us home.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show, brought to you by nooffseason.com. Don't forget to get your sell alerts by texting sports cards to 1-833-992-5727. Follow us on Instagram at Sports Card Strategy. And if you feel like the show is valuable to your sports card investment strategy, we would love a review. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.